Hi there, if we've never met before, my name's Vanilla, and if we have met before, welcome back to this little weird corner of the internet. There was a Pokemon Presents today, and even though I don't typically report on Pokemon news, I kind of wanted to share my thoughts on it and hear yours as well. This is going to be a my thoughts video and not so much a reaction, so I'll just be putting up clips here and there from the broadcast. But before we get started, I just wanted to ask that if you like my content and me, if you could please consider liking the video and subscribing if you haven't already. Your support helps more folks see my videos, and it lets me know that you all like the content that I'm making. For ease of understanding, I'm just gonna go in order of what the broadcast talked about, and I'll do my best to put up codes and stuff on the screen. I'll also put them down in the comments as well, so you don't need to scrub to different parts of the video. I'll also put timestamps in the description so you can jump around if you're looking for a specific topic. The broadcast started off by talking about the World Championship that's gonna be held in Anaheim from the 15th of August through the 17th. Each year there are special artwork and items that are exclusive to that particular event. I was personally a huge fan of the artwork back in 2024 when the championship was held in Honolulu, but this year's art is well done as well. There will be a code distributed for Toad's Cool at the event, but only if you attend in person. I don't really understand why they decided to go with Toad's Cool, but at least I guess I can say it's unique. They also talked about my favorite Pokemon spin-off show, Pokemon Concierge. I was so excited. The new season will premiere on Netflix starting on September 4th. I was freaking out over all the fluffy and chunky Pokemon they were showing. There's something about the writing and animation of Pokemon Concierge that makes me very emotional for some reason, but in a really good way. I love seeing Celio and his elderly trainer, which is what I assume is going to be a huge part of the new plot. However, I was very enraged to be introduced to Haru's ex. Like, Haru is meant to be with Tyler. I do not care what anyone else says. I will not tolerate Tyler's slander. Justice for Tyler. Then we were introduced to a new stop motion series that's being produced by a company called Aardman Animation. And I just want to say that I was super excited throughout this entire broadcast, even the parts that don't particularly interest me. But this new series called Fetch'd and Pichu really caught my attention. First off, they showcased one of my all-time favorite Pokemon, Wooloo. And in the background, World War III is happening, and you can see that here. Like, what is even going on back there? And the entire time, Wooloo is just sitting and eating the little apple. I'm such a huge fan of this kind of animation style, and the first thing that came to my mind was Shaun the Sheep. I don't know if any of you have watched that series, and I just looked it up, and there's a reason why I thought of Shaun the Sheep. It's because Aardman Animation also made Shaun the Sheep. Look at me being all smart and stuff. But you can bet I'll be all over that when it comes out sometime in 2027. I don't know what streaming platform it's going to be released on, but I'm hoping it's something most folks have access to, like Netflix. And then they brought on the big important man, Takaru Utsunomiya, and that's when we were transitioned to talking about the games. Well, for the most part. They also showed this concept for an in-person experience called Pokepark Kanto. It will be located within the Yomiuri Land amusement park in Kawasaki, which is located a bit west from Tokyo. Honestly, the little diorama they showed looked adorable. I kind of wish they sold those figurines so I could put them on my desk. Like, no way I wouldn't have an army of tiny Badoosh just hanging out while I work. There will also be 2 locations you can explore inside the Pokepark, including Sedge Town and the Pokemon Forest. Looking at the artwork, it seems like they're gonna have one of those rides that lifts you up and down. I'll circle it so you can see what I'm talking about. I don't think they make it in adult sizes though, so I probably wouldn't be able to ride it. Very disappointing. Then we began talking about the mobile game events, and they mentioned GoFest and showed someone skydiving, and then like Eternatus just flew out of nowhere. Honestly, I would just die on the spot. Even if you could get me to jump out of a plane in the first place, that would be a miracle, but then a literal alien thing that would just nuke me alive, yeah, I'd be done. I'd be gone. Anyway, they announced a code, and again, I'll put it up on screen, where you can choose to encounter either Gigantamax Cinderace, Rillaboom, or Inteleon, and that code is good until August 3rd. I don't have much to say for the Pokemon Masters EX thing, but it looks like you'll be able to summon Carmine and Sinistcha, which is pretty cool. That event will begin on the 29th of this month. I have to admit, that's one of the games I never really got into. I think by the time I came around to EX, I was just over the whole auto battler concept, and I don't really have the attention span to sit through characters talking to me. Pokemon Cafe was also mentioned, and it looks like you'll be able to recruit pirate and sea-themed characters. You can recruit this Jigglypuff just by logging in between July 22nd and August 21st, there was this really cute Lapras as well that you can try to obtain through deliveries, and that lasts for the same amount of time. Honestly, I haven't played Cafe in a while, and honestly, it started to become too complicated for me, if you can believe that. They started adding in too many different types of items, and I just get overwhelmed each time I try to pick it up again. The outfits are cute though. Also, the legendary dogs will be added into Pokemon Sleep, and you can research them starting in September. And another area called Amber Canyon will be released in November. Pokemon Sleep is another app I just could never get into for two reasons. One, it wasn't compatible with my Pixel Fold when the game was released, so I didn't play it on launch. And then two, I have sleep problems, so I probably wouldn't be able to play it properly anyway. Now that was the mobile games, but then they started talking about Pokemon Unite. And if you have been around for a little while, you know that I used to stream Pokemon Unite quite a bit. I wasn't very good at it, and a lot of the time I would get carried through ranked by some of my awesome viewers who were just much better at the game than I was. But they announced that for the 4th anniversary, they're going to be adding in Latias alongside Latios, which looked pretty cool. Latios was added in on the 18th, and Latias will be added in on the 8th of August. From the clips they showed, it seems like they have the ability to fly to one another, which is a pretty interesting mechanic. They provided a code that will give you a 3-day trial pass for Latios, and one Latios and one Latias Platinum boost emblem. They also announced a new game mode called Electrode Volleyball. Who was behind the development of this? Like, who sat down in a boardroom with other developers and was like, what if we made it so they play volleyball, but the ball is a Pokemon that explodes? And then everyone in the room collectively started clapping. I'm not gonna lie, it looks really fun, but at the same time, who is coming up with this stuff? They also just casually dropped that they're gonna be adding in Pawmot, which I would like to point out is an amazing choice. Who doesn't love Pawmot? Look at them, they're just so cute. Now I'm gonna touch on this briefly because I'm not really following this scene as much anymore, but they also showcased some of the full art cards for the new Mega Evolution TCG expansion, and that'll be releasing on the 26th of November. Honestly, the cards look pretty cool. I really like the Kangaskhan one. I'm very well aware of the TCG scalping problem, and I actually saw someone in my local Walmart speed towards the card section looking to see if there was anything he could grab. The fake Gucci bag and almost running me over clued me into what he was doing, and I bet he was really disappointed when he realized someone had already picked it clean. It's 2025, just wait for the drops on the Pokemon Center. It's probably placebo, but I always found that my drops were better when I ordered straight from them rather than purchasing in store anyway. They also announced a new puzzle game called Pokemon Friends, and that will be on mobile and Switch, and it actually released today. I don't know what's with the new trend of mobile and console cross compatibility, but I'm not complaining. From what they showcased, the puzzles look relatively simple. They showed a younger child playing it, but then they also showed some older folks as well. They showed that you can decorate your room, and honestly, I'm all for little decorating mini games. Allegedly, it's dropping today, but I couldn't find it on the Play Store. It's apparently $9.99 on the eShop though. Like, they left out that it wasn't free to play. Next, and probably the thing I was the second most excited for, was the news for Scarlet and Violet. For some reason, they felt the need to reiterate that the Switch 2 received a free performance upgrade, like just in case you didn't know that already, I guess. If you're interested in seeing the differences, I made a video that talked about them, and I actually played through the entirety of Scarlet again just to see if the upgrade made any noticeable differences. I'll link that in the description if you want to give it a watch. Interestingly, they announced a new raid series, and when I saw it, I was like, oh, we're gonna be able to encounter Wo-Chien. That's pretty cool. No, no. And honestly, it's an insanely awesome concept in my opinion. So starting tomorrow, we can encounter Wo-Chien, but we're only able to receive it once the total amount of victories achieved by everyone hits 1 million. And if we manage to defeat more than 1 million before the event runs out, we'll be able to get a code for a shiny version of that Pokemon. I am so excited, I can't even. And this is gonna be for each ruinous Pokemon. I'll put the dates up on screen, but Wo-Chien's event runs until the 3rd of August. And if you are currently playing Scarlet and Violet, you better get in there and win some of the terror raids because I want the shinies. I'll be posting raid builds that I found worked for me over on TikTok, so if that's something you're interested in, make sure to check that out as well. The links to my socials are in the description. There's also a code for a tracksuit mystery gift, and I'll be claiming this and wearing it during terror raids, even though it makes me look like someone's grandma about to go do a 3-mile power walk in her gated community. Then they showcased gameplay and new mechanics for Pokemon Champions. I do have to admit that this kind of game doesn't really interest me, but it looks like a lot of effort went into it. I think it'll provide folks with that competitive platform that they're looking for. There will be ranked single and double battles, which I think is a really cool concept. Obviously, there will be compatibility with Pokemon Home, and you'll be able to bring over your Pokemon from there. But they also showcased that you'll be able to recruit Pokemon as well. They showed a fixed lineup of Pokemon that you can choose from, like Gardevoir and Dragapult. There's also a mechanic where you can allocate stats and change the natures of Pokemon. Now, from my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this might only apply apply to the Pokemon that you recruit and not Pokemon you move from Pokemon Home. The training appears to cost points, and I think you would get them from winning or participating in battles. This game will be playable on both console and mobile, and I think that's a huge W. Folks are gonna love being able to play ranked while they're on the go, and I think that Champions is going to do extremely well. Now, of course, they put this at the end, and hopefully the timestamps I put in the description help you get here if you don't want to sit through the whole video. But we got to see gameplay of Legends ZA, and when I say I was freaking out, I was so excited to see the new gameplay and characters. I think it looks amazing, and I've made quite a few videos talking about why I think Gen 9 is one of the most visually stunning generations yet, and the art direction makes ZA look awesome. First off, they did end up announcing a new Mega Evo, and that's Mega Dragonite. I know that a lot of folks had been speculating on new Megas, and I think Dragonite's a good Pokemon to pick. It has huge wings on its head and then the orb on its long tail. It looks adorable, I'm not gonna lie. We also learned that we're gonna be battling Pokemon that are randomly Mega Evolving, and in order to do that, we need to Mega Evolve our Pokemon as well. But we won't be fighting alone since there's a new group that we encounter in Lumio's city. That group is called Team MZ. TMZ, like TMZ. Did they really not think that through? TMZ. But their mission is to protect Lumio's city, and the broadcast introduced us to their members. The player character is introduced to TMZ by either Urbane or Tawny, depending on what appearance we choose in the character creator. Then the other two members we meet are called Naveen and Lita. There's a day-night cycle, and at nighttime, we can compete in a battle royale and raise our rank. By raising our rank, we get to encounter powerful trainers to battle. This is where they introduce us to the evil Rust Syndicate that appears to be led by an individual named Corbeau. His design's pretty cool, and actually all of the story characters' designs look awesome in my opinion. I think that Naveen is honestly my favorite though. I think a lot of folks are going to be stoked that they're bringing back the more detailed character customization. It looks like there will be a lot of outfits to choose from, all with different styles. So instead of being locked to accessories like we are in Scarlet and Violet, it's going to be a bit more like Sun and Moon, where you get to pick each individual piece. They also showed one particular top where you can customize both the color of the jacket and the shirt underneath. They also showcase some different outfit combos, and it looks like there's genuinely going to be a wide variety of clothes to choose from. And kind of adjacent to the different clothes, you can also give your Furfrou a haircut. The narrator said Furfrou. I don't know if that's canonically how you say that, but it feels wrong to me, so I guess I'll just continue saying it the wrong way. This game looks amazing, and I can't wait for it to be released. I already did my pre-order through the Pokemon Center. In the United States, our pre-order for a physical copy will be a random plushie. I'm hoping for Chikorita, but I would also be happy with Tepig. Some countries like the United Kingdom had much better pre-order packages in my opinion. I don't know why they decided all we should get here in the US are plushies. Maybe the Pokemon Center had excess plushies in their warehouse. They also showed us that if you pre-order the digital edition of the game, that you'll receive a code for 100 Pokeballs, which is like an okay bonus if you don't really care about plushies or would rather have a digital copy. They also announced that an earlier purchase bonus will be available to all of us who played between the October 16th launch and February 28th of 2026. We'll be able to receive a Ralts with a Gardevoirite stone, which is a nice little thank you for playing early. At the end of the presentation, I happened to open up the live chat. That was a mistake. And it was filled with folks spamming L. I mean spamming. I don't know why. I honestly thought this was the best Pokemon Presents I've seen in a while. I kind of thought the one in February was underwhelming, but I wasn't really pressed about it. They showcased so many awesome things here, and I hope that if you're watching this, you can also enjoy what we were shown. Now, if you made it to the end of the video, I just want to thank you so much for watching. Normally, I don't make content like this, but I felt so excited after watching it that I wanted to share my thoughts with you all. If you like Pokemon and kind of odd vibes, if you could consider subscribing, that would be amazing, and drop a like if you haven't already. I make all different kinds of Pokemon content, and I love sharing what I make with you all, so it would be awesome if you decide to stick around. I have a relatively large project planned for my next video, so keep an eye out for that. And make sure you click the notification bell so that way you know when I post a new video. Thank you so much for choosing to spend your time with me. I hope you have an amazing day, and I can't wait to see you again next time. Okay, bye!